Okay, a question I have you ever heard of the 2 weeks steroid cycle, such as 100 milligram of test propionate for 14 days, along with 50 milligrams of a steroid of your choice, such as trembolone, for 2 weeks? They're supposed to be good because your body won't have to go through a harsh recovery process. Inhibition of the pituitary gland and others is said to not occur after 2 weeks. What do you think? Bill Roberts is a steroid guru, advocates these cycles. So a 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off sort of staggering.
It puts
Yes.
me in a difficult position with a fellow named Bill Roberts. I don't follow that one. Maybe there's something lost in translation there, because in order for the effects to be felt, whenever I get someone on hormone replacement therapy, I will tell him or her, listen, it's probably going to take about 6 weeks before this kicks in, if you will, before you notice any difference. And that can change. I mean, sometimes I get a call at 4 weeks and, hey, Rand, just want to let you know, I'm feeling better now. I'm getting more sleep, and those two go hand in hand, right? But then invariably I get the call somewhere around 6 weeks, and I get
Nothing's
that.
happening.
No, I get the Rand. Oh, now I know what
Okay,
you.
so there's
were
a wide
talking about.
range,
Yeah.
you say. Yeah.
Well, it's normally about 6 weeks, but like what I was getting at is sometimes people will feel better sooner than
Sooner
6 weeks,
or
but
later, yeah.
it pretty much hits you over the head at about 6 weeks.
I
So
see.
I don't follow how you could go on replacement therapy for 2 weeks and get something out of it and then go off it. Now, maybe there's something to once you've started
Yeah.
hormone replacement therapy for, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks, you've done it for a while,
Mm-hmm.
going on and off it for 2 weeks. But I honestly, again, with all deference to the gentleman he mentioned, maybe there's something I don't know about. So
Yeah.
I can't answer it. I'll have to do some research and get back. But I don't know of any studies that speak to that, and I can't think of a reason why that would necessarily be good. Now, you go back to what he mentions, which is to avoid shutting down your own system. If this is a 25-year-old who wouldn't be on replacement therapy, this is someone who's cycling to try and preserve testicular function,
Yeah.
then that would have some, common sense attached to it, because, okay, the whole purpose of cycling, if you're 25 years old, is to avoid losing your endogenous production. But for someone who's on hormone replacement therapy because they're not producing enough testosterone, I just don't know why you would want to do that.
Maybe he's talking about it from a bodybuilder's point of view, because I've heard this in the past. I'm talking years ago. People would say you do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and that way it forces you to take at least half the year off instead of staying on all the time. What do you think about that?
Well, again, I think you'd be better off going off for half the year.
I don't think they want to do that though. That's too
because
long.
you got, but I don't know the answer to the question. Is it still effective? Would be the question.
Right.
If you're using something for 2 weeks and then going off it for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
my understanding and my clinical experience is I don't see people getting results for 6 weeks. And then, I have to say that if you go off for 2 weeks, most people don't bottom out if they've been on hormone replacement therapy and get off for whatever reason. They want to, restore fertility. They want to, bear children. And we're talking about one of these 35, 40-year-olds, males and or females. And it takes about 3 weeks before they really go, wow, I can feel the difference. My endogenous production hasn't been restored yet. But, I don't know enough to answer the question. I haven't seen that. It's the first I've heard about it.
Yeah.
But again, your response, wouldn't make common sense to me either, knowing,
Okay.
I say common sense, physiological sense,
Okay.
simply because you'd be yo-yoing a lot. It goes back to the same thing about, people say, well, what if I take a larger dose every 2 weeks, which is what a lot of physicians do who haven't, really caught on yet. You're on a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
Your levels will be super supra-physiologic for a while, and then you'll bottom out.
Yeah.
And then you're feeling crappy, and it throws your body in this, as they say, roller coaster.
So
You're better off using a lower dose more frequently. So, again, I'll have to look it up.
Okay. Hi. I would just like to know whether Winstrol is the best steroid for me to use as a 200-meter sprinter to increase speed and strength without gaining too much weight, and whether it has rather low side effect. Regards, Hendrik. So I think this guy is like following Ben Johnson's.
I was going to say, with all due respect, I don't mean this in a pejorative sense to Ben Johnson, but ask Ben Johnson.
How can you not think of that?
Well, I don't mean that in a mean way.
No.
I think the guy was an amazing sprinter.
Yeah.
But the reason why Winstrol would be better is because Winstrol is one of the steroids that's actually designed for angioedema, the reduction of angioedema. So you would get the anabolic benefit of a dihydrotestosterone base steroid, and you would be as light as you could be, which is what you'd want as a sprinter, meaning you'd get rid of as much water excess as possible, which is what you would want as a sprinter. You don't need extra water as a sprinter. You might want to carry extra water as an endurance athlete, so not a good idea. But as a sprinter, yeah, if I had to pick one steroid, that would be the one, because that's what it's designed for.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. Right.
Not just because Ben, was fast.
Okay. Knowing that Dr. Ren is on the board of advisor for Max Muscle. Are you still on the board for Max Muscle? Or you were?
Sean Green is one of my childhood friends.
We love you, Sean.
Yeah.
So anyway, you were at one point for sure. Can you ask him about his thought on new supplements such as mTOR, specifically phosphatidic acid and protein synthesis? Is there any real evidence to support the claim that PA works? Thank you.
Well, we know that phosphatidic acid in some studies has been shown to increase protein synthesis into muscle. It tends to be anabolic, I guess the best way to put it. It's interesting. It's something I'm going to give you a loose answer here on purpose, because I don't think we really have enough evidence to make a decision one way or the other. And I'll give you an example. With growth hormone, we've been arguing back and forth for years now, based upon studies. Is it good for you? Is it bad for you? And of course, there's always, at what level? Because there's too much and there's too little. But to replace growth hormone arguably can reduce lifespan. I read one study that analyzed, it was a meta-study, analyzed all the studies and came up with the number that of 3 months being the reduction possible if you follow all the studies, and that's tenuous also. But in other words, you would lose 3 months of life if you use growth hormone. But compare that to all the other studies that, if you sum them up, the use of growth hormone would improve your, and I'm talking about replacement, would improve your cognitive function and physical function. And I don't know anybody, literally, I don't know anybody, I haven't met them yet, unless they're lying to me, that wouldn't trade going strong, quality of life, for 3 months at the tail end. I mean, that's kind of an easy one.
Yeah.
mTOR is what the phosphatidic acid is really affecting. The mechanistic target of rapamycin, and that's a whole other story that the viewers can look up online. But too much of it may not be a good thing. Too little of it may not be a good thing. The same way that growth hormone may or may not be a good thing. And what I mean by that is, what we find is that the antagonism of mTOR tends to help fight cancer. And it makes sense, just in the same argument. Well, come on, it doesn't cause cancer. Growth hormone, if you have cancer, may actually hurt you, because once you have it, you're gonna speed up the growth of a cancer. Although I would also throw in there, just to really mess with the viewers and anybody else who's wants to get into it with me over it. But there's certain cancers that are slow growing that we can't treat, therefore, with chemotherapy. So theoretically, you could improve your results with something that normally you couldn't use chemotherapy with by adding growth hormone to it. Way off. My ADHD is in full gear today. Sorry, but with mTOR, we know that with phosphatidic acid, it looks like in animal studies it will increase muscle building, which is what a lot of viewers are interested in.
Yeah.
Muscle production. We just want to be careful to say, hey, let's go for it in unlimited quantities at this time, because again, we know that reducing it can help fight cancer. Now, we're mixing apples and oranges here, I realize, but we want to make sure that, bottom line, we're not promoting cancer with it. There's nothing out there to suggest that that's the case, but I'm just throwing that out there at the risk of pissing off Sean. And by the way, I never have and don't make any money from Max Muscle, in their products, but I would do the research and decide for yourself. Again, I want to be careful what I say here. We don't have any, bottom line, we don't have any research to suggest that it's going to cause cancer. So I don't want to say don't take, what is it?
mTOR. mTOR.
But let's keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Like all these things, let's continue to review it and make sure that there's not a dose after which it does promote something we don't want. So far, there's no research to suggest that I'm aware of that it's a problem. But just keep an eye on mTOR.
Yeah. I almost didn't ask you when I saw Max Muscle. I'm like, oh no, what if it's a negative? Sean's not going to be happy.
No, I don't think, bottom line, I don't think that's a negative.
Yeah.
I just want to be informative. Because,
I didn't know what you were going to say, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All right. Thank you for your question.